Hey guys, welcome back to Clutch Takes. Hope you like the updated version of the intro. Today we're going to be talking about what our power rankings are for the NHL this upcoming season for teams 31 to 16. I hope you like the video. The last team on this list at number 31 is the Ottawa Senators, and this should come at no surprise as they're in for a tough season. Evan, what do you think about their team?
Well, just like the Leafs of 2015-16 season, they're going to be really bad with Kachuk as their best player, and it's going to be a really bad season.
Tough luck if you're an Ottawa fan this year. At number 30, I have the Los Angeles Kings, as I feel their roster is really old with Kopitar and Quick not being the players they used to be, and I feel like they're in for a really tough season as they start the rebuild.
For me, it's the Detroit Red Wings because, yes, they got Zadina, yes, they got Cedar in the past two drafts, but I feel like they're just not a good team and they don't have many players to work around.
I have the Detroit Red Wings one slot higher as I feel like they're on the right track with their core, but I feel like it's still a development year and that they still need to get another good draft pick. So this will be a development year.
Unlike Detroit, LA still has big pieces like Doughty and Kopitar and Carter and Quick, which I think could bring them to better than the Detroit Red Wings, but still not good because they're slow and old.
Man, oh man, it was a tough offseason for the Columbus Blue Jackets as they lost Panner and Dzingel, Bobrovsky, and Duchesne. Now they're in a retool, rebuild phase, and they had Marner offer-sheet rumors, but I don't think it'll come to fruition, and they had their fun against Tampa, but now it's over. Evan, what's your opinion?
Well, I feel like it's the coach, and I think Tortorella pushed away all these players to different teams since his coaching style does not work in this day and age for the NHL.
Another California team bites the dust as Kessler and Perrier are gone. The 2007 Cup team is finally dwindling away, and they're getting more young players like Steele, Zegras, and others to help build this core for the next wave of Ducks.
For me, it's the Edmonton Oilers because I believed in them for like 2 years straight, but now I'm finally giving up. They're lost a lot of players, and they don't have a good core to win. They did not add anyone this offseason, and it's looking bad for Edmonton right now.
Number 26, I have the Minnesota Wild, and honestly, they're a team that kind of pisses me off as they just signed Zuccarello, and they're just keeping on this old core, and they just need to rebuild, and slow teams do not win in the NHL, and their roster is almost all over 30. They need to rebuild.
Anaheim still has a great defense and a great goalie, but their offense was always their problem. But now they got rid of their old guys. Now they're bringing in the new. And this will be a growth year. So it'll be an exciting but also a losing year for Anaheim.
It pains me to say this, that Buffalo will be this low, especially as they haven't made the playoffs in so long and they had such a great offseason, making a lot of additions to their team. But with the tough division they're in with all the top dogs, I just don't see them winning this year. But they will be on the horizon soon.
With New York Rangers, a lot of people are overhyping them with Panarin signing there and Kakko being the second overall pick they got. But I feel like they just have a lot of ifs and buts with their team, as Georgiev we don't know if he'll be good again. Kakko, we don't know, and we don't know how Panarin will play with Zibanejad.
The Devils are another ifs and buts team with me, as there is a lot of them in the NHL, as the NHL is the most parity in the league, as they had a good offseason as well as Buffalo, having Hughes out of the roster, Subban and Simmons, but I just don't feel like it's enough, and hopefully it'll be enough to keep Taylor Hall, but not enough this year.
With a nice young core of Pettersson, Besser, and Horvat, I think Demko won't be ready to be in the starting role, and I think Markstrom overperformed last year. And I also think Hughes won't be ready to play in the NHL yet, and they'll not be ready to make the playoffs.
Having the Islanders this low might turn a lot of people's heads the wrong way, but honestly, I didn't like their team last year, and losing Leonard I feel like is a huge part of that, and I feel like this will be their fall to reality and having them at number 23.
Like Stan said about Buffalo, they had a good offseason, they have a good young core, but I think that their goaltending is a big question for the Buffalo Sabres. They have really good defense, and they have a good first line, but I don't think they'll be able to compete with the top dogs in the Eastern Conference.
You gotta wonder how McDavid feels right now, as another failed offseason with the Edmonton Oilers not getting any top 6 wingers to help McDavid. And I feel like this will be an eye-opening year for the Oilers, as it'll be another failed season and they'll have to reconsider things next year.
With another edition of Kessel, I think that the Arizona Coyotes still won't be as good as people think, because yes, they're a very defensive team, won't let people score, but I still don't think Kessel will give enough goals for them to move on to the playoffs.
Vancouver had a solid offseason, upgrading their defense while also getting some forward depth, but I don't feel like it'll be enough, and it's tough because they gave up the first round pick for next year, but it's another development year for the Vancouver Canucks.
Yes, the Islanders lost Leonard. They also added back Varlamov, who had a struggling season last year but could bounce back. But New York Islanders cannot score, as they don't have the star power like the other teams in the East.
The Dallas Stars are a funny team for me because I actually feel like they got better, but I feel like they'll do worse, like in the offseason, because I don't like their old core, and I feel like Bishop is too injury prone, and the West is really tough.
Minnesota used to be one of my favorite teams, but now they're one of my teams I put in the list where I'm annoyed with them because they're annoying. Get rid of the old players. It's getting annoying. They are not good enough to win a cup, and they're not good enough to make the playoffs. That's why I put them this low.
The San Jose Sharks low-key had a really terrible offseason, as they re-signed their star Erik Karlsson, but they practically lost everyone else, as Braun, Thornton, Pavelski, Donskoy, and Nyquist are all off the team, and I feel like that's really going to hurt them for next season.
With the Devils getting Hughes, Subban, and Simmons, I think the Devils definitely got better since they didn't lose any of their core. I think that they'll have a good year, but also they won't make the playoffs since the East is very hard this year to make.
Getting closer to the playoff range, it gets harder to rank these teams, and I really liked what Arizona is doing, as they're a really hard team to play against. I feel like they're well managed, but I'm not sure they have enough top-end talent.
Dallas has a good D-core led by Klingberg and also a good goalie in Bishop, but their goal scoring was their problem. Pavelski helps them with the goal scoring area, but also I don't think they'll make the playoffs since the Central is very hard to compete in.
I feel like the Rangers are going to surprise a lot of people this season, as Panarin is an elite first-line player, Kakko can slide into your top 6, and Trouba just came off his best year, so I feel like the Rangers will be competitive all season long, and they might just fool around and make the playoffs.
My favorite team in the NHL, Montreal Canadiens, have the best prospects in the league, led by Suzuki. But I also think that it's a lot of ifs with this team, since they have the top 3 goalie in Carey Price. I think that it depends all on their young players and how they perform, so they can go higher.
With the Colorado Avalanche, I might honestly rank them higher as the season goes on, as they have a really nice young core, and it all depends, for their D especially, how they develop. But I feel like losing Barry and their goalie Varlamov will make them struggle a little bit, but they could move up easily.
With the San Jose Sharks, as Dan said, they lost a lot of players like Braun, Thornton, and Pavelski, and also Donskoy. But I don't see a team led by Erik Karlsson and Burns not make the playoffs, but they won't be higher than this. Stay tuned for part 2, as we'll review 15 to 1st in the power rankings, and give us your take in the power rankings in the comments below. Like the video, subscribe, see you guys next time.